So here's what really went down. In Abraka, Delta State, tension has been boiling for some time now. People have been crying out that kidnappers are disturbing the area, especially around the railway axis and some of the forest routes leading into the university town. Students, traders, even ordinary residents, they've been saying, we can't move freely anymore. This insecurity is too much. And you know, when fear catches a community, everybody begins to demand action. So the police, together with local hunters, those community men that know the bush, they know the paths, they know the terrain, they decided to act. And that action is what has brought this gist today. Early in the morning before sunrise, this joint team moved in. They tracked suspects believed to be kidnappers. Reports say that when they engaged them, 4 of the suspects were neutralized on the spot. An AK-47 rifle was recovered too. Now, this is not just gist. This is confirmed by local reports. And people in Abraka immediately began to talk about it because they had been expecting something to be done. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because these are the real updates that affect us every day. Now, after the operation, you would expect that the community would just celebrate and go back to normal life. But no, the matter didn't end there. As the suspects were taken down, other armed men tried to stage a reprisal. They ambushed security operatives in another location. That's when things got tense. Imagine, the community is rejoicing that kidnappers have been neutralized, but at the same time, people are hearing gunshots again from an ambush. Fear spreads fast. That is what led to confusion in Abraka. And here is the twist. Because of the way the story was carried, some people started linking these suspects to Fulani herdsmen. That angle brought in ethnic tension. So while people were celebrating that hunters and police had done a good job, others started suspecting that reprisals could target northerners living in the area. That's how small, sharp security issues can quickly turn into bigger communal problems. And that is why the management of Delta State University, DLSU, said, look, let's suspend academic activities for now. Let our students stay safe until things calm down. So you see how one incident can ripple out and affect education, affect daily business, affect everything, like this video. And subscribe right now if you want more of these real-time updates explained clearly, because this is how you understand what is really happening in our communities. Now let's talk about the role of these local hunters. A lot of people underestimate them, but in many parts of Nigeria, especially places with thick forests and where the police don't always have full manpower, local hunters become the backbone of community defense. They are not modern police, no, but they know the bush, they can track footprints, they understand how these kidnappers move, and they are deeply connected with the locals. So when they combine with official security forces, you get a more complete operation. That is what happened in Abraka. But you must understand these hunters can also be double-edged. If they act with discipline and under police guidance, it works well. If they act without accountability, mistakes can happen. And that can bring even more tension. So after the hunters and police neutralized those suspects, word spread very fast. In Abraka town, especially around areas where people have been most affected by kidnapping, residents came out almost celebrating, saying, finally, government has heard our cry. But while some were clapping, another side of the story was building. Reports came that there was an ambush. Security operatives came under attack, and the suspects' allies were not ready to let it go just like that. That's when fear returned again. People started locking shops, students began calling their families, and you know how social media carries gist. Some were saying, war has started in Abraka. This tension is what forced DLSU management to announce suspension of academic activities. Students were told to stay away until further notice, because once security is shaky, the university doesn't want to risk lives. And this shows something very important. When insecurity rises, it's not just about those directly attacked. It affects the economy, education, transport, even the mental health of residents. That's why every community cries for lasting solutions. Don't forget, like this video, subscribe and share it so others can stay informed. Now let's widen the gist. What we saw in Abraka is not an isolated story. Across Nigeria, kidnapping for ransom has become a serious headache. From the northwest, where bandits disturb Zamfara and Katsina, to the middle belt, to the south, and even the southwest, this same pattern keeps repeating. Criminals hide in forests, they target highways, railway lines, and remote areas. They strike fast, abduct people, and disappear. Communities then look to both official forces and local vigilantes or hunters to resist. But what makes Abraka's case unique is how quickly a victory can trigger reprisals and then spiral into ethnic suspicion. Now, why do communities sometimes mention Fulani herdsmen in these situations? It's because in many areas, herdsmen move cattle across forested routes and criminals have taken advantage of the cover. But the danger here is that once you generalize, innocent people suffer. In Abraka, reports said some northerners were attacked in the aftermath. That's how innocent lives get caught in something they didn't even start. So it's very important to separate criminals from entire communities. If not, what started as crime fighting can quickly turn into inter-ethnic crisis. Please like this video and subscribe because this point is key. We need justice, but justice must be targeted and fair. Let's also talk about the psychology of the residents. Imagine living in a town where every week you hear about abductions. Fear becomes normal. People are afraid to travel at night. Students fear leaving campus to visit family. Even traders fear going to the bush market. When the hunters and police finally move in and succeed, the relief is so much that the community rejoices. But when gunshots return the next day, that relief turns back into panic. That constant up and down is draining. That's why communities keep demanding that government take permanent action, not just one-off raids. And you know something else? Local hunters working with police has become a common model. We saw it in parts of Kogi, we saw it in Benue, we saw it even in Ondo forests. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they clash with criminals, and casualties happen. But communities continue to call for this partnership because they believe hunters know the ground better. But long term, the question is, should we rely on hunters forever? Or should government build stronger policing systems that can cover every area? That's a question for you watching. Drop your opinion in the comments. And as you drop it, please like this video and subscribe too. Now, we need to talk about the wider implications of these kinds of operations. This situation in Abraka, where local hunters and security forces work together to take down suspected kidnappers, shows us a few things. First, it shows that in many parts of Nigeria, especially in rural areas, security forces are stretched thin. Police and military personnel are often not enough to cover every inch of the vast countries. That's why you have to rely on local people. These community hunter, vigilante groups, even sometimes youth movements, to step up and protect their areas. But the downside is, as I said before, these groups need to work under proper oversight. If they start acting out of line, mistakes happen. And that's when you start hearing reports of innocent people being hurt or worse. We've seen it happen before in other states, and we'll probably see it again. When local hunters go rogue, when they act without clear rules, they can become as dangerous as the criminals they're supposed to be fighting. That's why every operation like this must be planned properly. And the community needs to feel like the people in charge can be trusted. If people lose that trust, it gets even harder to maintain peace because everyone starts pointing fingers. So, in Abraka, the security forces did their part, but now the real challenge is making sure that the aftermath is handled right. Now, let's talk about the politics of all of this, especially when you bring up ethnic groups. In Nigeria, issues of security are often tied to ethnic lines. When people hear that Fulani herdsmen are involved in kidnappings, it's easy to paint an entire group with the same brush. This happens often, and it's a dangerous path to go down. In Abraka, when the suspects were said to be Fulani, it fueled ethnic tensions. The risk is that innocent Fulani people who are not involved in criminal activities could be targeted for things they didn't do. This kind of violence doesn't only affect criminals, it affects regular people who have nothing to do with the violence. So the question we need to ask is this: how can we ensure that in moments like these, our justice systems stay impartial? How do we fight crime without turning it into an ethnic war? This isn't just an Abraka problem. It's a national issue. When it's easy to blame a group, everyone loses. If you know anyone who has been affected by this, or if you live in these communities, drop a comment and share your thoughts. And yes, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep getting these important updates.